Hello, Charlie.
Good luck with it.
Can you get by?
Get my message. That's this morning. I was saying that when we spoke earlier, I said I wasn't going to say anything about the report. Oh, after talking, finishing the packet. Okay.
Good morning. Tippy, are you?
I'm fine. How are you? I guess I'm okay. I'm standing up.
I'm on the right side of dirt, that's all I can tell you.
That's what I said too.
Like, I'll just try and get to you to speak to you. No, just speaking.
I was saying
Dan.
after. Looking at
2 minutes.
Bill, the report that we had submitted on the 20th of December to Charlie, Bill and Ashley. That's that we just. Just went and read.
Short too.
What is it?
I like it when you do remember that, show up.
I bet you had a chance to read it.
Incredible.
You had a chance to read it. It's presented as a read for that. We hadn't had time to do anything else.
I read it. He sent this to me back in December. I read it. I have not refamiliarized myself with it.
But I thought. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Her name was on this.
I'm not.
Okay.
Because I made it.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Well, yeah, I do know that because Lee wanted to be on it too, her husband. You know, and they were having some, I served on Port Health.
Okay, so you know to do it.
Missing meetings, showing up late, I said, Lee and I don't get along.
Okay.
I was surprised.
You know, we can talk about this rule.
Yeah, I don't.
You have to
I
make
like when I
dresses,
make
if you're
that
not
decision.
making them, you live in your own room, he goes,
But,
because I should.
me too.
You'd be 12 minutes late.
Okay, one more thing, Clay. But I'm gonna announce it at the meeting, but Bill and I talked, and we're still going to present the Georgia Power Club.
Okay.
Good morning, Miss Laney.
Come on, how you doing, Mr.
I'm doing wonderfully, thank you.
You are good, me too. I'm fine.
I'm upright, and that's,
Well, that's what I
that
said.
makes it the whole day.
I'm saying too. I'm pushing up the days today, so.
Good morning and welcome to the Spalding County Water and Sewage Facilities Authority meeting. It is January 19th, 2022 at 8:30 in the morning. I'd request that you please put your cell phones on, silence your cell phones and any other electronic devices. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Skinner to lead us in the invocation and then Mr. Morrow to lead us in the pledge of the flag.
Let's pray. Most heavenly gracious Father, Lord, we give you thanks for this day and all the blessings that you've brought to this organization. And Lord, just help us to be faithful stewards of what you've provided. Through your Son's most holy and blessed name I pray. Amen.
Amen. You'll join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, both of you. This is a big meeting, so we're getting ready to start. We've got a number of things that are kind of big for the year.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, but are the speakers on? I can barely hear you.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, much
Okay.
better, thank you.
Thank you. This is a really big meeting for our group, our authority. We're going to welcome Wanda Howell, who's going to join us as a member of the authority. She's a community leader and has just come off of the Development Authority, spending her time there. So when we want to talk about the Development Authority and where the Development Authority is going, we have a member who has just left that. Secondly, this is the first meeting for us having a general manager. We are most fortunate that Joseph Johnson has agreed. There is, in my opinion, nobody in the entire world who understands our system and the city's system better than our new general manager. And I am pleased that he has joined us, as I said, and I am pleased that Dr. Ledbetter was able to make all of that happen. So thank you and welcome, new general manager. We'll talk more about things with you as we move through this thing. This time I'd like to have a motion to amend the agenda.
Second.
All right, I have a excuse me. All right, your motion is to amend the agenda.
Item 11, number 1, we will be electing the secretary treasurer.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Now you need to vote on the motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
I second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is election of the chairman of the, for the 2022 calendar year.
I'd like to nominate Clay Davis.
All right, I have a motion to nominate Clay Davis. Do we have a second?
Don't need a second for nominations.
Excuse me. All right.
Mr. Chairman, Wade also asked to have his hat thrown in the ring, so I'll nominate Wade.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I was unaware that you was going to run for chairman again, so I will withdraw my hat from that ring.
Okay.
And I accept that then.
All right. All those, all right.
Any other nominations?
Any other nomination? Thank you. Any other nominations?
Move to close nominations.
Mr. Chairman, if there are none, I move we choose you as our chairman by acclamation.
I have a comment, Mr. Chairman. I'm concerned because, you know, we know that for some reason, for political reasons, after March, you're not gonna be here. And,
He
I'm
will-
just very concerned that if we make the decision today to elect you, re-elect you as chairperson, that we're gonna be back here in 90 days, because he's going, as a commissioner, I guess I didn't. explain
He's
that.
not as a commissioner. He's a county appointee.
Okay,
So,
all right, so he
so
would
that
still
will,
be able
yeah,
to serve.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, then no question.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion points with me? All right, all those in, well, is that what I do now? All those in favor of electing me as the chairman, please raise your hand. Okay, unanimously. Thank you for that. I appreciate that honor and the trust that you put in me to be able to do this. I will ask that if you see that I'm not moving us in the right direction or something like that, that individually you all come to me and let me know so that I can try to get back on the right path for us. I would probably prefer that you don't do it publicly, but if that's okay, if that's the only way you can do it. Ms. Howell, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. All right. Election of the vice chair for 2022. I'm open to yes?
I move that we have Wade Cannon as, or vice chairperson of the
Okay. We have a nomination of Wade Cannon for vice chair. Any other nominations? I nominate Dick Morrow to be vice chair. We don't have to have seconds or a discussion or anything else. All right. First, closed?
I second that.
All right. Any more discussion on closing the nominations? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Nominations closed. All right. We'll take the nomination of Wade Cannon first to be the vice chair. All those in favor of Wade Cannon being the vice chair, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 5. That's all.
You had more than 5, didn't you? We both raised our hands too.
Oh,
There's 6.
all right, 6. Excuse me.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. So, Wade, you're vice chair from now on. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's some startled faces, starting with Raids. Okay. Citizen comments?
There are none.
All right, thank you. We'll move to minutes. Consider approval of the minutes from the December 8, 2021 special called meeting and work session. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve if no one else has any objection.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. Thank you. Item number 8, number 1, consider approval of the Water Authority financial statements 6-month period ending December 31st, 2021, as presented by the Administrative Service Director, Jenna Garrison. Ms. Garrison.
I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Ms. Garrison, I have a question. I know that you book everything except the net payment from the city, and it comes in after the end of the month, okay? I just had a thought. Last year's December payment, actually it's June, the last fiscal year, is that carried over, or is that applied back to the final set of books? It's accrued, but then,
Every year for the audit, I do adjusting journal entries.
okay,
And so June's is backed out, and July's that I have received in August is
okay, that's my question. So this
between
is,
years.
this
every
is
year.
all up to date except for that that net payment from the city for the last month?
Yes.
And it'll be updated and put back in?
Well, this has December's payment in it.
Oh, it does?
It should. The 451.
Okay.
What it doesn't have is, well, you're right, this is the cost of water. This is not we received December's payment in January.
That's right,
So
that's my
you're
question.
correct.
Okay, gotcha. So we're all up to date except for that net monthly payment?
And the only other thing, down at the bottom of page 1, Dundee Phase 1, you're seeing $375,000 in the current period, and year-to-date, Allen Smith has not made their final draw request from DCA. So when they do, this will be zeroed out.
Correct. Thank you very much. I move we accept it.
All right, I have a motion to approve.
I got one more question.
Yes.
In our December meeting, we had approved the new water rate, but I believe Steve had said that the numbers were still getting crunched. Did everything check out, I guess?
All I do is go through and kind of look at the city's calculation
Okay.
and verify the numbers.
So, did
Yes.
we vote on a no rate increase? I know it was
We
a
did.
discussion.
We absorbed it, basically.
Okay.
But it was, they didn't have everything crunched yet, is why I was asking. Yeah.
Okay, I had a motion. Do I have a second to accept? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the financial statement. Any more discussion?
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, just to kind of address what Wade said, so I would like to know only the ratepayers, but when we go back and start looking at it historically, I think it's important to know how much income we're going to be losing.
We absorbed.
Yes, ma'am, we'll be more than happy to bring that back to the authority.
Say again?
Yes, ma'am, we'll be more than happy to bring that back to the authority at the next meeting.
Okay, you don't think you can get it to us before then?
I do.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have one comment. I know we always say we accept the financial report, or it has been my, in other organizations, it's been my experience to say we accept it with it being filed for record, because there could be a mistake someplace in calculations or how it's printed or whatever. But if we were to be audited, let's say, and we've already accepted it with errors, I think we could be liable at some point or other. My point is not to say we not accept it, but we accept it for it being filed for record, which means that if something were to come up, it could be corrected.
So is that why we accept it as presented? Because we're really not voting on the accuracy.
It
of
is, yes, ma'am.
For the report. Just accepting the way that she presented it to us. I mean, that information may change.
Okay, that might be semantics, but for me, it's not.
That's why my motion was to accept, sir.
Okay. All right, we accept, not approve, that really and truly. All right, any more discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All right, it's unanimous, thank you. Item number 9.1, consider approval of the water superintendent's report. Mr. Joseph?
So obviously, you guys see that the superintendent's report is the same that Rocky submitted. I guess going forward, is there anything in particular you guys would like to see? Because as I go through this, you get a snapshot, but you're not getting a true picture of kind of the system as a whole. So I'm kind of taking any recommendations from the board, because there will be, going forward, there will be some changes to this report.
Good.
I think from where I'm sitting, the person who uses the crayon to draw, I think it's very, not just for us, but anybody on the outside who's looking at our report, I think it needs to be more graphically presented. Not that these numbers don't count, but it's much easier to see if we're going up or we're going down.
Absolutely.
So if there were an addition, I would like to see something that will give you a snapshot, not just us. I mean, we can understand these numbers, but if anybody else came into this, they wouldn't get it.
Absolutely.
Maybe a rolling one-year projection based off the numbers?
So General Manager, if you'll come back to us with your idea of what it should look like.
You got
like
it.
that.
You got it.
We appreciate that thought process that you're going through to get us in the right line.
Absolutely.
All right?
So, looking at the new connections, so for the year, we ended up at 372 new connections. The water meters installed, we installed 377 new meters. The fire hydrant report, as you can see in December, that was a major milestone. And that is mainly due to the fire hydrant installation project that was approved last year for $248,000. But a total of 71 hydrants were installed, 14 repaired, and 6 were maintained. The leak detection report, so this is the interesting report. This is only accounting for stuff that water authority staff members find. So it does not take into account the leaks that the city of Griffin has on the board. So one thing that I would like to do is incorporate their data into this, because that will give a true picture of just what the order of magnitude is of how much we're leaking. But as you can see in December, there was nothing, back to October, there was nothing checked, nothing in November, nothing in December, and that's because the leak detection equipment was down. So it has been sent back to Match Point, and we're waiting on a quote to get it fixed.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, so in October, November, and December, we don't have anything that was
something broke, or as Mr. Ballard went out and did fire hydrant inspections or a meter install, they would come across a leak, and that's how that was addressed. Yes, ma'am. But it was just, it happened by chance.
So it's not a personnel issue as far as it's getting checked right now, it's a mechanical issue.
It's a mechanical issue. I'm still vetting to make sure that the staff is adequately trained, because leak detection is very specific, and it's almost, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I'm trying to figure out exactly how often that equipment's being used to ensure that there's proper training on it. But leak detection on PVC water mains is really tough in general. So I'm looking at trying to understand the process.
Joseph, is this information shared with the city for their purposes of keeping up with water loss?
No, unfortunately, I don't believe there was adequate information flowing back and forth. So I've talked to Brant, and there will be information flowing back, because since we are an integral system, in order to show demonstrable progress, we need to work together.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Could you explain a little bit more, or just go in a little bit more detail, as what the benefit to us is for us having the documentation on the city line? I mean, I can see if it were close to a connecting point, that might be relevant, but how is that gonna help us?
Well, there's two schools of thought that I'm thinking of. One, just for the board to understand the overall magnitude. Because I know the city of Griffin's always said, our system is leaking because of high pressures. So one, that's gonna paint a bigger picture to the board to say how many leaks are out there that are physically known about. Then based on my observations in the short time, if we're gonna start addressing the leaks, we don't have a whole lot of staff to go out and facilitate this maintenance on. So we use a lot of inmate labor. Well, I know we had one person out, and he suspects he has COVID, so that's gonna put us down for possibly 5 to 8 days, depending on what guidelines we use. So as soon as one person goes out, now we go from 3 staff members to 2. It's tough.
But you're talking about, I think there's a little miscommunication. You're talking about leaks in our system, not in the city system.
Correct.
Since they work on leaks on our system too. This is only a fraction of the leaks
Yeah, so
that we happen to handle.
And the city staff they're just like anybody else in this time. They're having a hard time finding adequate help. So at some point, the decision is gonna have to be made by the board to determine, are we going to start facilitating some of these our own maintenance?
So if the city does the leak detection themselves, and then they do it for us, or they don't do it for us?
Not necessarily. The leaks that get called in are customers complaining of, they see water out at the meter. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brant, or they see some physical sign of running water in a ditch. Well, they'll send the city staff out there, they'll locate it, they'll put it on the board, and then they get to it as they have time to get to it. So we'll know that information when we start incorporating their report into this report.
Well, we
I
can,
don't know the right question to ask you, but I'm
Yes,
we-
ma'am.
We can use these leak detections, if we have high pressure issues causing leaks, we can use that maybe to determine where to put PRVs.
Absolutely.
And
What a PRV?
it's a pressure reducing valve in the system. And also, your water loss affects our rates. I know the contract says we don't pay for unmetered water loss, but unmetered water loss is water that the city lost, they can't bill for, which is gonna increase our cost the next year. So leaks is a financial impact to us.
Right, but I'm saying 3 years ago, we didn't have any leak detection at all, right? Brian, we were just starting to look at that.
When we got that first grant from Scwsfa, it's when we had a quarter of the system
Correct.
checked, and then the next year we paid the same company to complete the system. So that was 4 years ago, maybe. It was the first time that we've done any leak detection.
Yes, ma'am.
I talk to you. Do we have enough history, since we only did part of the first year, and I don't know if we did the full thing, do we have enough history in 4 years to create a history for leak detection?
You don't, I didn't want to interrupt, but leak detection never goes away.
Never goes.
I mean, it's an ongoing system, a process. I've hired 10 people in the meter division, and 3 of them are dedicated to nothing but leak detection, year in and year out. And the magnitude of what you see up there, and because nobody's ever asked, and Joseph came over and said, can we have this data? I said, it's been here all along. Is the magnitude of y'all's leaks are pretty big. It's not so much mains. You guys average about 20 breaks a year on water mains. But your other leaks are in the neighborhood of 300 a year that's not being reported on that report there that we fixed, okay?
Okay.
But at the bottom line, when the city of Griffin, when I took over, and I don't wanna say I, but when they appointed me in 2002 to take system over, the magnitude of leaks was 3,000 between the city and the county a year. We're down now to the magnitude of somewhere 500 or less a year, and that's due to things breaking, wearing out. And as I told Joseph, I've already given him the data, but I'd be glad to show you where you were in 2000 and where you are today. Because there has been significant improvement on what's happening in the system by making, you guys using our standards for brass and copper and putting in plastic. And so there has been demonstrable progress made, and that can be demonstrated. And we track, because, just because that's what I do, okay? We track what the leak time is to fix a leak on the county system, how long it takes to fix a leak on the city system, and be mindful that unless it's an emergency, you got 72 hours you have to call for locates, okay? But I have, to the nth degree, I have to report to the state showing demonstrable progress of what we're doing in relationship for water loss. So all that data is available. Joseph will have it, and he'll probably show you some things in the future as far as reporting is concerned, because this is kind of generic what you see here in real life.
I'll give you an example. Years ago, when Griffin went to radio read meters, they replaced the meter at my house. And in the process of that, they had dug up the little meter box and everything, and they nicked the line on my side of the meter with a shovel. And it was actually poked in, not poked out. I got a bill for 1 million gallons of water usage. Fortunately, I knew Brent Keller. And he cut out the customer service department that I dealt with for a week. But the entire side of my property up there on High Falls Road was a sponge. I mean, it was like walking across a sponge. And it had ran for at least a week like that. And basically the system lost 1 million gallons of water from that one service connection on my side of the meter.
So where was that accounted for?
Non-revenue water.
Good.
Well, let me
Rate went up.
explain this to you. When we took over, in 2002, when I was appointed over what I'm doing, we were losing the magnitude of somewhere around 750 million gallons of water. You're never gonna not lose water, okay, because you're under pressure. This year, we've hit an apex, which I can say now that I'm leaving, I felt really good, that we were at 18%. We hit 15% this year, and our goal is 10%, which is probably very lame. But right now, tracking the last 6 months, we're at 12% non-revenue water. So we are trying to be responsible to our customers, and Spalding County is obviously one of our customers.
All right, sorry about that. I just went all the way around the room.
Okay. All right,
And one thing that everybody needs to remember is the water audit that is turned into the state every year, the state uses that information towards our permit. So while it's really not gonna impact Spalding County's permit, it will impact the city of Griffin's permit in the event they ever need to increase capacity or increase their withdrawal. So it would only benefit everybody is if we start sharing this information and being good teammates.
Okay. I do have a comment. As Rocky was leaving, he talked to us about fire hydrants, the cost and who pays for them versus the county versus the authority. Next time we meet, I'd like to have a report out on which way that's supposed to be. William moved it from one side to the other side, and Rocky said, we did not used to pay for that, and do we want to work out some kind of a transfer back or something along that line? This is a big amount of money for us in the end, but we can do something about it. All right, does everybody remember what the issue was? Just to remind everybody, it used to be that the fire department paid for the fire hydrants.
They're fire hydrants.
And their fire hydrants, and somewhere during the time, the county turned those over to the water authority, and we started paying for them. I want to make sure that decision is a proper decision, and it should be ours, or should it be a cost-shared decision? So I don't need any decision right now. I don't need any briefing right now. Just we need to come back. I'd like to have that carried out because that's one of those things Rocky said, if I were you, I would do. Yes, Gwen.
So are you suggesting for him to look up whether or not the fire department should be responsible for the cost of water hydrants?
Yes,
Fire hydrants.
fire hydrants.
Yeah, fire hydrants. I don't.
They used to.
I don't even understand how that would work.
Let me answer that. Fire hydrants are for firefighting. They have limited use in our system. I mean, you need some fire hydrants for flushing. There's some valid reasons to have fire hydrants. But in the past, it's a firefighting tool, and the extra hydrants that people wanted to add was paid for out of the fire tax as part of fire protection. When things got tough in the county in the recession, it was just sort of switched over because the water authority had money, so you pay for them. And my contention long has been, it's not our cost. Maybe part of it is our cost, but there should be some cost sharing between the fire department and the fire tax for their fire hydrants, and maybe some benefit to us that we would pay for. But it would just unilaterally, without anybody's permission I know of, just shifted over here a few years ago, and we pay for fire hydrants, and I've objected to that.
But fire hydrants serve home customers. So it's not necessarily they're serving the fire department. The fire department provides the service. But having the hydrant there is to help the residents in that area. I mean, if you're building a house or building a subdivision, you have to have adequate fire protection.
That's why you pay a fire tax in the county. You pay a fire tax for fire protection, and that's used to be a part of your fire tax and your fire protection was the fire hydrants. So, this is not, I don't want to get into this,
I understand.
but that is the issue at hand.
I think
Yeah.
at the same time, though, we're required as a water authority, as a system, to install fire hydrants in our system. Is that correct?
A certain amount, yes, that's part of the design.
If somebody's building a subdivision or something like that, that should be completely borne by them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not just black and white.
Right, no.
Yes, yes, and part of it is, there may be some cost sharing, and as we are watching money for our ratepayers, that's something we need to look at. And if it goes back and we come back and say it's all correct, fine. But Rocky said it's one of the things I would have you do, so I'm saying, let's do it.
Right, so yeah, my question would be, as an authority, did we vote to take that responsibility?
Well, I don't know how that got done,
I have not looked through all the minutes, but I do not believe it was any vote, it was just done. That's my understanding.
All right.
Okay, now, anything else from you?
Just
I
the,
have a question.
Okay?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Can you go back to the first? Let's see, total customers
Yeah.
from November to December?
Yeah, did we fire them or something?
That was gonna be my question. Why is the total customers jump around every month?
Why'd we lose 350 customers?
That's a great question. Charlie, when you put this information in, is that taking into account customers that are inactive accounts?
Yes, if they were active the previous month and then not active the next month, those customers will come off.
So are you,
There are 350 vacant homes.
so they could potentially still be our customers, but they didn't draw any water that month?
Right. No,
It's
I
a
would assume it's
strange
no
number.
account.
Huh?
We can dig into that information, but when a account is set up, the only way that will be removed is if the house goes away or it's an inactive meter. So someone moves away. So once you install a tap in the ground and there is a physical address that had service, it will stay there. So technically, you still have 14,296 connections or active bills in November. And then, based on this data, I would say the reduction is due to people making their meters inactive.
This may be one of those places we need some more information.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
I mean,
That's correct.
Another
That's
line
just,
item.
it's such a big
Absolutely.
number.
Absolutely.
It comes out of our billing system, and it's not hard to tell you what you have. I mean, Griffin's 70% rental, so you ought to see my numbers fluctuate
Mhm.
because people move or get disconnected for non-pay. And so at the end of the day, we can supply those numbers for you.
But you've got a certain number of connections regardless versus paying customers.
That's correct.
When you file your audit every year, they ask for the number of active connections and the number of inactive connections when they file. Because they want to know how many connections are on your water pipes.
So a better measure is active versus inactive, but we still have the same number of accounts. if you will.
Correct. Well, we could take it even deeper, and you could get a residential, commercial, industrial, institutional. We can break it down to that level. So you could see exactly how things are progressing.
And that would take an active eye. Spalding County never went that route with us, and so we bill you on total customers. I can't tell you how many commercial customers you have. It would
Okay.
have-
Okay.
Somebody over here would have to supply a list of all that information for that.
I'll look into that. And then,
Great question, you two. Thank you. I had
I agree.
not caught
I've
that,
always
so
wondered
thank you.
about that.
All right.
Joseph, I'd like to go back to the water loss.
Yes, sir.
And also ask Brant about this, to give them credit. There is some active leak detection taking place in the county by the city. Is that correct, Brant?
Yeah, on the
Not-
free edges, yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
All right, satellite leak detection and other things.
Yeah, well, our satellite imagery covers about 500 miles, counties, whatever. There's some outlying things, but we use what we call Utilis, and we fly once a year, and we look at what they call points of interest, and that's where last year we found using them 300 plus leaks on our system. And some of it's guessed, you find it by mistake, but basically it's a very good tool to look at your leak detection. I'd already talked to Joseph to see if y'all wanted to cost share on that through the whole county and then figure out how y'all gonna fix some of your leaks. So that's kind of the work already.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept the
Yes.
water super? Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right, unanimous, thank you. Old business. Thank you, Joseph. Update on transfer of sewer flows and customers to City of Griffin Paragon Consulting Group. Mr. Upson.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you back out with us again.
Thank you. Back for the living. To give you an update on the sewer project, as we're trying to close out plant number 1, we have begun the process of communicating with the city to transfer all of our sewer customers over that were either a part of the Highland Mill area, the Dundee Village area, and then the new CDBG. It's just been completed area. So, city we're working with them on the customer service area to try to get those accounts identified and then they will, once the flow turns over to the plant, to the city's plant, those customers will then turn over into city customers. It may be some weeks lag just because of the billing cycles, but we are working with that, identified who would be transferred over once we close the plant down and they go and they become City of Griffin customers. That will happen as the city transfers their billing system in. So,
Bottom line, no problems, no issues.
no problems to date. We are, as of last Friday, we were about 53% complete with the sewer line, and that was the tougher 53%. We're heading into an area that should be easier to run. But of course, we're in the worst weather period of the year, so, you know, we can work a couple of days and then we get shut down for a couple of days. So we feel very comfortable. We're gonna be well ahead of our deadline of the end of March. I'm anticipating probably sometime mid-February, third week of February to complete that and officially tie it over to the city. So we're ahead of that curve. And, we made a report to EPD as part of our condition for extension. We gave them an update, so I think we're fine with EPD on this project.
Okay, thank you for that part. Second,
May I ask a question?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Connected to that?
Yes, sir.
I had some calls in that area there. There were some business people and other folks in that area. I think one person triggered this call and I got a couple others. They had hoped one day to hook on to that old sewer plant. They kept saying one day maybe you can get sewer service. And of course, that never happened. Now, the question is, could they get sewer service today now by hooking in now that we have the city service and it's got capacity? So is there a
Yeah.
map or potential service could be hooked onto if somebody ran sewer and wanted to fix their business?
Well, we are hooking into the headworks of the sewer plant and basically diverting that flow.
Hooking into the what?
The headworks.
Headworks,
The
okay.
headworks of the plant. So if somebody had intentions in the past of tying into the plant, that would be the place they would have tied to, or lines that connect to the headworks would tie into. Those lines aren't going away.
Okay.
So if somebody has the ability to flow into that plant currently, they won't lose that ability
Okay.
to tie in the future. Now, obviously, then it becomes coordinating with the city of Griffin on a tie-in.
Right, I understand that.
But we didn't change the hydraulics of any of that. We just intercepted where the sewer was coming into the plant, the first point that it comes into the plant. We're now intercepting that point and running it to the city's sewer plant.
So with Joseph, I could get some sort of a schematic so I could pass on to a business owner to the interested in hooking in. This is where you'd have to go and get a line to. Is that a fair statement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
we can give you exactly what is, but in a nutshell, nothing changes for those people that own property around there.
Okay.
They still have the ability to tie in. They
That
just
was the
now
question.
will tie into a city line.
Right.
And we'll deal with the city.
I understand this,
Yeah.
the change and all that. It
But-
just
but we didn't
question
change the
is,
hydraulics
There are
of-
folks up in that area that want sewer and have been waiting and hoping.
Yeah, nothing changed on that.
Okay.
Nothing changed.
Except they can now take it.
That's right.
Okay, let's change gears if you would there, sir, and
Okay.
talk about the fire hydrant project.
The fire hydrant project is complete within one hydrant. We had a little miscommunication a few weeks ago. There was a hydrant damaged somewhere in the county. And we hadn't quite figured out how this call was made. They said, somebody made the call to talk to the contractor and tell him to fix that hydrant instead of installing the last hydrant in our contract.
Okay.
Joseph's been in the middle of it in the last couple of weeks, but we're now making that repair as we normally make repairs on hydrants, and we are installing the final hydrant. So we'll be wrapped up in the next week or so. But somehow, we don't know how. We can't get to the bottom line, but somebody got detoured to fix this hydrant in lieu of completing the last hydrant installation.
For the authority, this is a huge movement forward in fire hydrants. We've put effort, dollars, into getting this done, and we got it done. So this is a huge movement forward in that, and I thank all the members for making this happen. All right,
Okay.
anything else from you?
That's it. I should have, I hope by the next meeting I will have substantial completion on the sewer line and final completion on the hydrants. So,
We love those answers. Thank
yeah.
you, sir.
All right, thanks.
So, Mr. Chairman, you're saying that this is a very big accomplishment for us, for the Water Authority. Nobody else, other than the people in this room, knows that we did that. So the question is, I know we don't have a marketing person, but my question is, how do we let people know that we're doing something?
Excellent question.
Is this not important enough for us to know that?
Not only that, we didn't raise our water rates, which
Well,
is
that's
probably
what
the
I'm
biggest thing.
This is like throwing up confetti moment, so we need to see if we can communicate with maybe the county marketing so that something will go to the general public saying, a year ago, we decided to do blah, 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 it cost us this much, we did it, it's helped you with your insurance, and we didn't raise your water rate. So, I just, not that you can fix that, but I'm just saying, you know, we need to start looking forward at what our imagery is when we are successful in doing stuff.
Great point. I think all of us agree with that. We'll see if the county manager can make something happen with that. We'll see if the secretary treasurer can make something happen with the county manager to get something done.
Mr. Chairman, typically utilities put a statement stuffer in oftentimes announcing these sorts of things. As far as I know, we have made no effort to communicate whatsoever with a Facebook or platform of any kind or a statement stuffer, anything. So I think Gwen makes a great point.
Yep, I think, and you make a great point of being able to use the billing system to be able to put some words in there, to be able to get out to the people. They're getting the statement anyway. We can talk to Brent about seeing if we can do something like that and stick it in there periodically.
I bring up city, but we had a contract to do a statement stuffer. Now, statements are changing from mail, US mail to digital. I'm not sure where we stand on that now, but used to have a statement stuffer go in explaining some of these things to the customers, and it was helpful.
Well, good idea. All right.
I still get an envelope every month.
Huh?
I said, I still get an envelope every month, so.
Yes.
Well, I think everybody does, but
Yes. All right, General Manager, if you'd kind of put that on your list of things to do, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Upson, appreciate that. Item 9, new business. Item 1, election of secretary/treasurer for the 2022 calendar year. Do I have a motion to elect Dr. Ledbetter?
Mr. Chairman, I move we elect Dr. Ledbetter as our secretary treasurer for the year.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We haven't really discussed that, but yeah, I think with the general manager, a lot of stuff is gonna be different for us because a lot of the grunt work that we've been having to do as members is gonna be his grunt work. So, yeah, maybe.
Well,
Basically.
I think Joseph, I think Joseph's got a lot on his plate other than trying to get the bills paid with the county finance department and writing minutes and stuff, so.
That's why we paying him the big money, is for him to do that work.
Well, you can either have him do that or you can do the rest of the work we want him to do.
I don't want to detract away from his ability to lay the foundations for a solid structure of the authority. So when we enter in other ventures, we have the mechanisms in place to be successful at it, if that makes sense to everybody. I don't know if that's the best way to say that.
Okay.
I hear the whispering, but I can't hear the talk.
Ms. Fanner?
Sorry, I was trying not to sneeze, please forgive me.
Mr.
Ms.
Chair,
Fanning?
may I, and address Cheryl, our bylaws, or don't our bylaws dictate this procedure?
Well, changing the bylaws, the proposal even marked out signing checks in the proposed change. I would defer to Stephanie's opinion.
I think this is a business decision, not really a legal decision.
Yeah.
And I,
Maybe what the answer is for, during this transition period is to go ahead and do it one more year as we've got it now. And then as we come on board with the general manager picking his feet up, getting ready to walk and do all that stuff, we turn around and decide that we're going to make the secretary treasurer cope with the general manager. Because it
Chairman,
really has to do with signing documents and stuff
I
like
have
that.
a motion to the floor. I don't know if received a second or not, but I'm just trying to go
Okay,
back to procedural
yes.
to discuss this thing.
I'll make a second for the sake
Thank-
of
okay.
discussion. I think that Charlie does a wonderful job as the general manager and secretary and blah, blah, blah. So I don't think that that's gonna be Joseph's job. So for me, secretary, the keeper of the record, is different from the signer of the check. So, and I know that we look at, I guess that would come up in the agenda, but from where I'm sitting, if we're going to change something, and I don't know if this is state statute or whatever, that we have to have a secretary treasurer, but, or,
it's in, yes,
Yeah.
it's in your legislation.
so does it say we have to have a secretary slash treasurer, or we have to have a
It is-
secretary and a treasurer?
It's one position.
But in the bylaws change that we're proposing, we did make a change that said secretary treasurer or his or her designee, which would be Charlie.
That's right. I'm gonna say, if we designate him as secretary treasurer, he can designate Charlie to do the actual work, but he's responsible, which to me makes sense. He's the county manager. So I think he doesn't write the checks himself either, designates Jenna to do those things. So, but he's responsible as our secretary treasurer. Doesn't necessarily do the work.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
that's
would
my
like to,
point.
my thought process is, during this year, '22, let's just go ahead and let it go the way it is. We've been doing it because we understand what Steve's supposed to do with us. And then next year, we can look and say, all right, we're ready to transition if we are. Either change the bylaws or transition them over to doing something with Joseph.
Well, if we approve these bylaws, they'll be prepared for change.
Yes. All right. I still have a motion. I don't think we got a second.
Yes, you did.
Gwen, second.
Oh,
Gwen
Gwen,
seconded.
okay. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. Thank you. Item number 2, 2022 committee appointments. I'd like to talk about this first and then make the appointments. My belief is that we had the planning, the planning and finance committees are in our bylaws. So we're not going to eliminate them. The purpose of us getting the planning and finance committees, establishing those, was pre-general manager. We needed those committees to be able to bring the data to us as a whole board to be able to decide where we're trying to go and things like that. We don't need those anymore. We have a general manager who we're going to hold accountable for the planning and things like that. We talked to him about policies, and he comes back and briefs us. I want to keep the planning and finance committees on standby, paused, whatever the right words that you'd like to use, to in case the general manager needs to talk to certain groups of us to do things with. So with that, I'd like to ask Jim to lead the planning committee and Cheryl once again to lead the finance committee. Now, we were in an active role with those committees earlier. I do not see that happening anymore. I see those maybe once or twice a year, 3 times a year, truly when the general manager says, hey, I want to talk about some stuff and I want to get some parts of the group together. So,
So, Mr. Chairman, I totally disagree with you on that. And I mean, you're the chairman and you can appoint whoever you want to. But I if those committees that we had were relevant. Because a lot of this stuff, Joseph is not going to do. And he can be there to assist and guide the way. But I think part of what we wanted to do in changing who we were making us more responsible for the information that we bring here. So, while I don't disagree with you about having the committees, I disagree with you that the work that they were doing is critical to not only assisting Joseph, but also for us to keep in the loop. Where if he doesn't bring the information to us, then we have to all dig through it and figure out the information. A recommendation from the committee would definitely have his input, but it would still be the committee creating what the work task is. So I think we diminish ourselves if we take away the work that the committee is doing. Maybe it's not as in-depth, but they will have guidance now.
It can be supportive, not necessarily innovative.
I agree with Gwen. I think she's absolutely right. I disagree with you completely, personally.
Okay, that's okay.
And I would like to say, Cheryl and I were finance. As far as planning goes, I mean, I'll say I'm gonna defer to Ms. Delaney because
Chairman, I was
she was on
volunteered to
that
be the
committee.
planning one because we got a lot of work to do,
I mean,
and you need to work with Joseph now.
She's done an enormous amount of work,
Yeah.
and
And Ms. Delaney and
so,
planning.
All right, so let's back up and say, wait, before I,
Mr. Brandon,
We could work together, couldn't we, on planning?
who worked for an authority? How did
You
they
wanna
do it
be
in Clay
involved?
County?
You know, I'm not sure on that level, how they did it. I do know.
Well, what was the interaction between the general manager?
The
and
general manager drove those kind of things, and from my understanding, there were committees that, you know, did work with that general manager and then worked with the
I
entire
think-
board.
Clayton County had temporary committees, they didn't have permanent committees.
I was just trying to get an idea of how they did it, you know, because I knew they had a general manager, and I was trying to figure out what that relationship was with the board.
They had temporary for special projects.
Let me say, if you go to the Development Authority, David Lucky's the general manager director, and he does this, but he has very active committees that sit down with him and act in advisory sounding board capacity, and so that's his connection to the board. And then when he goes for the board, he has a support team, people know what he's talking about. I think they're important. They won't have to meet all the time like they did, but
Can we ask Joseph for his input on this?
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
yeah, let's put him on the spot.
He's already got a job, he don't care.
I think the committees would benefit greatly by that shared relationship, absolutely. I think it's that would support me, and I'd be able to, in turn, support you guys, so I think they're fine.
Mr. Chair,
all right, so,
I'd volunteer to work with Ms. Delaney and the Planning Commission if Jim wants to stay with the finance, that's up to him, but.
okay,
I'll volunteer to be on the planning committee too.
okay, so let's, Jim, Cheryl, you go back to doing Finance Committee.
You gotta have three now, the bylaws state you gotta have three.
Jim, you want to run that by yourself?
What?
If we're overloading Cheryl.
No, three members.
The committee must have three members.
she's saying a little more personal.
I'm going to the bathroom.
Okay,
You gotta learn sometime.
okay, all right, so, for the planning, we're talking about Dick and Miss Fanny and Gwen, yeah, the two,
Yes, ma'am.
the two co-chairs right there, and Gwen will be on the committee as a member, all right? Then in the.
And we'll take anybody else who wants to meet with us.
And when you meet, if we're gonna do it, we'll have Charlie put out, there may be a quorum possible to do that with. And then for, the other,
She actually, it's not just there may be a quorum present, it requires notice, agenda, just like any,
Yes,
just like
yes.
this meeting.
yeah,
So-
excuse me. And then, Cheryl and Jim on the finance committee, and if somebody else wants to be on that finance committee, and it sounds like,
Someone has to be, because it has to have three members.
okay. Ms. Wanda, how about you being on that since you were volunteered? Thank you, ma'am, thank you. Okay, wait,
I'd like to be on the planning committee too.
Whoop,
Can I
Good.
have three? Well, I mean, it says three members, a chairman and two other members.
okay, we've got,
Can't make it bigger?
I don't know, the bylaws say three. Anybody can attend.
Anybody can participate, but you have to designate three, I think.
all right, so we've got 3 on both sides, correct?
But-
We all,
And
We-
one chair.
We want you there. Don't we?
She needs me, she can call me.
and what was that last,
One chair.
And I'll be there.
1 chair? All right, would you rather Jim or Cheryl?
No, you had co-chairs on that committee.
Well,
All right.
the bylaws say chair and vice chair, it doesn't say co-chairs, but that's, I don't care how we do it.
Say chair and vice chair, because the chairman, doesn't it?
Well, the only thing we had a vice chair on was the joint
I thought you had a
authority
chair
thing.
and a,
We had co-chairs last time.
A chairman and.
Did you have co-chairs last time?
Deal a lot of co-chairs.
Okay. So, we know who the people are, and if you decide you're interested when the finance committee meeting or the planning committee is meeting, then come on, come to the meeting. All right. I'm kind of waiting on that while Cheryl looks that up. I'm going to move on to the next issue, so it'll take a second. Discuss and approve the 2022 meeting schedule. Do I have a motion to approve it?
so moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on it?
We're gonna go to monthly meetings.
We're going to a monthly meeting. That's what we were agreed on, the retreat.
And we picked the dates
And
in advance.
the dates are all there. Charlie's put them all out. Now, in the end, we may look at the date in December, as I remember, is 2 or 3 days before Christmas. We may decide to do something with those, but right now, those are the 12 dates that we're going to have for the year. All right, any more discussion on that? All right, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. Unanimous, thank you.
Are you gonna let Gwen know all the stuff we volunteered for?
She can read it in the minutes.
Yeah, okay. Consider approval of proposed changes to the bylaws as presented by the Bylaws Committee Chairman Cheryl Matlock.
Okay. I sent everybody copies, and Charlie sent everybody copies. In Article 2, as it presently reads, we are eliminating and checks. That way, should Joseph be elected secretary treasurer in the future, he will not sign checks, because as we are part of the county, it is required that the county manager and the chairman sign checks. Under the proposed change, down on the next part, we added, except as otherwise authorized by resolution of the authority at the very beginning, the secretary treasurer, parentheses, or his or her designee, in this case, it's usually Charlie, shall keep the records, et cetera, et cetera. That should have been in there a long time ago. I never had thought about it, but that makes it clear that Charlie has a role. Then, under Article 2, Section 5, it says the chair shall also serve as executive director. And we are changing it to the general manager shall serve as the executive director. And those are the changes that are proposed.
Is that your motion? If so, I second.
All right, we have a motion, a second. More discussion on the bylaw changes? We appreciate Cheryl doing these and keeping us up on these. All right,
I have a question.
Yes.
In this Article 2, Section 4, there's a change, except as otherwise authorized by resolution of the authority, all such orders shall be presented to the county administration, and checks shall be countersigned by the chair. That was added. That's a change. What is that?
The except as otherwise authorized by resolution of the authority was added, and that is because in 1995, there was there was just an overall change to who was in charge of administration. This gives you the leeway to go back or make additional changes by resolution of the authority without having to come back and amend your bylaws at every time you take an action.
But the one you're making reference to,
Is-
if you look, it's in both of them, it's not changed.
The county administration wording?
checks shall be countersigned by the chair, or in his absence, the vice chair. Is in both of them.
Correct, that's there, but in the proposed, it's been changed to presented to the county administration in the copy I have. It's gonna be the first line on
Yeah,
page
I
two.
see it, I see it.
Page two,
Yes, they have to be presented to the county administration because they have the checks.
okay. So that was just not in the previous and needs to be in this proposed version. Is that correct?
Yes,
I'm not getting a good feeling about that.
yes, yeah, I don't know why it's not marked in my copy, but yes.
Okay.
All right, any more discussion on them?
Okay, so what are the actual final changes? Yes, we didn't change anything in Cheryl's recommendation, right?
No, it's nothing
we're-
else, I
we're-
just didn't read that one. I just did not read it when he said it out loud.
Okay.
But it's as presented on paper.
Okay, as is presented, that's what the motion and the second is. All right, any more discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand.
Well, is this just a general, like, housekeeping thing, or, I mean, what prompted this, I guess, is,
Getting the
General manager.
okay, and that's what has spurred all this, and it's
Yeah, it's
just a general housekeeping
To
thing?
allow him to have that authority or to define his authority.
Okay.
And specifically, Wade, because it said that the chair shall serve as the executive director in the bylaws.
Okay.
And that has not been the case.
Okay.
Who's gonna sign it?
The chair and the county administrator,
They still sign checks,
and
but
they will still be signing, but it makes it clear that the general manager will not sign. The general manager will just sign the order.
Okay.
I have my hand up.
Yes, please. Oh, all
Approval.
right, all those
Changes.
in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Unanimous, thank you.
I just want to make
Motion
sure I
carries.
had a grasp of. what we're
Cheryl,
doing.
have you found,
No, I can't find
okay,
it.
I'm moving on, thank you.
All I have is the old copy in my book.
The Water Authority has been invited to the Spalding County Planning and Zoning Board meeting on the 25th at 7 PM at the Courthouse Annex, right here in this room. The tentative agenda is, as you can see there. All are invited to attend if you so deem appropriate. It says all of us, but for sure, I believe that myself and the county the secretary, newly elected secretary treasurer, and the new general manager will attend the meeting. If you all would like to come and watch that, the planning.
Mr. Chairman, what's the purpose of us going there?
They're discussing the direction of where county sewer could or should go.
So, but I'm saying, what does that got to do with the county planning and zoning?
I think this board needs to understand their function and where they're going, because we need to align our sewer plans with where the county wants to go, and planning and zoning board is.
So,
Well, I think the
That's my
county needs to
understanding.
understand the financial impact of that to us and what we would have to get in return for that too. That's the thing I keep seeing getting missed in all these, master plans and everything.
so I'm saying, if we go to their meeting, they're having their meeting. We're not going there to have a work session for them to know what we do and for us to know what they do. And at the end of the day, planning and zoning doesn't make the final decision. The board of commissioners sets the policies on what the standard is. So I'm just not saying it's not a good idea to meet with them. I'm just saying, what is the function of us showing up at their meeting? They're gonna do their regular meeting. So are they gonna stop and chit chat with us and so I'm just saying.
They invited us to come. That's the key thing. The planning group said, we would like for the Water Authority folks to come in and talk to us.
Well, the
And
number one item on their agenda is discussion of direction of where county sewer should go, so it'd be nice for us to understand what they're thinking, because they lead into this. I know the county makes a decision, been there, done that, but
Right, and the
But-
county makes a master plan for development, so all that they do is supposedly enforce I'm not saying that it doesn't need to happen, but I'm saying that when it happens, we also need to be talking to the development authority, who is actually the economic development people. We definitely need to be talking to the city of Griffin. And I'm not saying let's have a huge meeting, but I'm just saying I don't think it's a good idea to cherry pick these meetings when really all of us need to know where everybody is.
And the bigger issue to me is, if we walk into the meeting and they say, all right, where do you all want to have sewer go? What's your ideas on where sewer goes? I don't think we're, as an authority, at this point, know where we want sewer to go. We have not, as a board, decided on the locations we want sewer to happen in. So my answer is, this was really nice of them to invite us, but we don't have the answer that they're looking for. Now, we know 16, we know north side of 1941, we know Tri-County, those areas we've talked about. But we're not ready to, I don't believe, say, these are the ones we're going into in the short term.
No, but, I don't know, I'm a great sit in other people's meeting, understand their thinking guy. But if they're talking about someplace in the county doing something, they really need to know, understand that there's only about 3 areas that even practical to put sewer to, so you can draw pictures on a map and have no practical, so I hope they understand where we could put sewer, not that we've planned it or we know we're gonna do it, but it's only available present in certain areas, like the Tri-County area possibly. It's not available someplace else. It's not available at 75 at the moment. I don't know. I just think that everybody ought to understand what's going on in the other silos.
Okay.
Maybe we just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it's not a good thing and that we don't need to do it. I think we probably need to figure out what we want to do. As we had a meeting in our retreat, we talked about, as a county, we talked about sewer and sewer expansion, but we didn't have the water authority there. So us having a conversation about what we're gonna do in here doesn't work if everybody's not in the same room.
I'm gonna attend the meeting, and hopefully I'll get a chance to talk to them and explain to them the things that would impact us and be able to provide what they want, that they need to be aware of.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there
Just
too.
saying, well, we've decided to put sewer over here, there's a lot more that goes into it than that. I think the decisions have been made, and now it's into the details, and nobody wants to discuss the details, but without discussing the details, it's never gonna move forward. There's some things that these different groups need to understand. I mean, it's like that, the master plan, the email I'd sent, and I was like, why wasn't we included in this? It's great that everybody got together and made all these decisions, but they made them without knowing the things that would impact us and the issues we would have with it. And by doing that, to me, if that was one of their goals, it was a waste of time not getting our input. Well, there's things that they need to know. I mean, like, if you get into industry, I hear a lot of talk about industry in 16. Well, that's fine and everything, but we really can't just go run a sewer line and build a sewer plant if we don't know what we're treating. That's just not how it works. And they need to be aware of that. They're gonna have to communicate more with us.
So let me see if I heard what you're saying, is that we need someone at the planning and zoning board who understands what it is
Joseph.
that the county does and the water authority.
Yep.
So I would suggest that we have a meeting with the planning and zoning director to make sure they understand what direction the county wants to go and what rules related to that are come under our purview. Because not the last planning and zoning director that we had, but before that, they kind of acted as an educator for the people that sat on the board. They explained what the rules are, what the history was behind why we got to where we got. I don't think it's our place to explain to them what our situation is. I think they have trust in, should have trust in the planning and zoning, or the, what do you call those people there? You know what I'm talking about.
Community development.
Development person. That's the guy who's sitting at the table with them, so they should know the rules. Because other people can't possibly understand if there's not somebody explaining it to them. So,
Well, the
yeah,
county doesn't have a director at the moment, so there's nobody, I agree with you, that they should be part, but The county doesn't have one.
I think in the end, we're gonna find that Joseph and having that position is gonna be key to all this. He should be talking to these people, he should open lines of communication. He knows what he needs to know, and he can convey that to these other groups. And I think that's what's been missing the entire time. Everybody's in their corner making decisions, they have no idea how it impacts the other group of people.
Well, that's exactly
Yeah.
They're just in their little silo, and it's just like the thing about the 500-foot. They decided it would be okay. And we're like, no, we don't got that rule. You can't make a decision that we've already made, so I'm not sure, I'm not the person, I'm looking at Steve, who can get that in order, but I think we need to be orderly about it, and we need to try to help to work or suggest that the board members become more educated, and I don't know if you can start that without a new person, but I think before we go and talk to them, they need to have some kind of idea of who we are.
Yeah.
You know, and what it is that we're doing and where we stand and all of this stuff about what's gonna happen.
You got it?
Got it.
Okay. Moving on to item number 13, special committee report. All right. I think almost all of those are in. I think we're missing one. Charlie?
And I really just don't understand what it is that you want me to do.
Okay.
I mean, Charlie gave me an information sheet, but when I think of structure, I'm thinking about what it looks like from the bottom up. So maybe somebody can elaborate to me what it is that should be looking like.
Now, we had points, the key part here is we had points that we said on the retreat. And each one of those, my belief is, needs to be covered under, and we just called it structure. But, all right, now, I'll talk about mine, Jeff's in mine, on the board development.
Can we put up these sheets on the screen so we could follow along with the sheet?
Okay, this is what I proposed. Can you make that bigger? This is what I proposed as the format. Now, in the end, once we get all the formats exactly right, we'll turn it over to the newly elected Secretary Treasurer and get him to put it into some format for, this is supposed to be the focus of what we're going to do in 2022. We all were at the retreat, including Joseph, and we said this is where we want to go. This is the individual way we're going to get there. So we've delegated it down to individual folks and said, here, as you can see, I got a problem, vision, strategy. Then we go down to the action steps, if you'll just rotate down a little bit. All right. And the action steps are 4 areas that I say that we need to do something in. The first one is the orientation. We've done one with Jeff. We're going to do one as soon as this is over with Ms. Wanda to be able to go on. Then we're going to be meetings, and we've just about completed that because we have voted today that we'll go to 1 a month. Continuing education is really interesting. At our retreat, at the Board of Commissioners retreat, the Archway professional that facilitated it said that she would take it back to Carl Vinson and get them to give us a list of what they think should be classes that we need to all go to. And she said she thought she could do that fairly quickly. I'm planning on in March and June to have that back before. You can see the dates that I have put in there when I will come back and either ask questions of the board, and then the recruitment. How do we bring people on? What are we looking for when we try to bring somebody on to this? One of the things on recruitment is, as an example, we have somebody who just left us who has a great deal of expertise. Can we use them to do other kinds of things with us without being a member here? Ad hoc, committee member, citizen. All right. Risk. Key risks to me are we have too much work for some of the people who are on the committee. We're going to, I think, pick up the pace on this authority with the general manager coming on board on our direction. And I think that some people may decide this is more than they're willing to commit to. In some cases, we may be spreading ourselves too thin. If we start continuing on like we were with the planning committee, and every month or every couple of weeks, they were meeting again and again and again. And as Ms. Gwynn talked about, we need strong collaboration. We've got lots of people we need to talk to be able to make this all work. The city, the development authority, planning committee, the development authority, the community development people in our own place at this county. My future steps is to reevaluate this entire effort at our retreat next year. So this is a one-year focus to be able to do it. I see nothing that we all didn't discuss to be able to do this with. All right, that's mine. Comments or questions, as this is the format, and we'll put together some kind of a fancy chart or something that Steve's got that we'll lay out, and we'll try to put it on the wall as we come in here every time. Okay? Dick, you ready to go?
Yes, I didn't do one complicated one, I did multiple simple
Yeah.
ones.
That's okay.
Which works with my ADD much better.
Well,
All right, so I'll have to,
it's the same idea.
okay. We heard at our retreat, or I did anyway, multiple times, lack of a business plan, lack of a business plan, lack of a business plan. Well, I broke it down into three pieces because we do have a business plan, a legal business plan on file. It's in your book, and all it needs to be legal, which you have to file with the EPD, as a business plan is in that plan. However, it was not up to date. We still show William Wilson as our contact and Rocky Kenway. By the way, I've known Rocky for 21 years. I didn't know his name was Cecil. After he's gone, I learned his name was Cecil. And also says we will meet quarterly. So we do need to make some legal updates, corrections to our formal business plan, and we are back legal with the EPD. However, I don't think that's what folks really meant when they talked about a business plan. That's a legal requirement. In reality, in my opinion, we need two business plans beyond that, or two portions, if you will, if not plans. And we do not have, in my opinion, a true business plan for our water business. We kind of act from the lip or the hip here. We decide to put some water meters over here, we decide to do this, do that. And I strongly believe that our planning committee needs, with, when I say these committees, I mean with Joseph actively working through them, is to create a plan of what we want to do with our water system. For instance, do we want add fire hydrants? Do we want to fix a lot of the problems we have? Looping is a major problem in our system that probably is, in my opinion, the biggest problem. And so we need our planning committee to define what it is we want to do, and our finance committee is really not been active in the past years. This board, to me, has kind of sit and just nodded their heads and gone along with whatever the county manager, whoever said. I think we need to be proactive and say, these are things we want to do, these are the looping problems we want to fix, this is what we want to do. And then the planning committee, the finance committee, should sit down with Gina and give us a budget of what we're gonna do. We don't just throw $250,000 or something, or $200,000 here, whatever. We need a capital improvement plan based on our revenue stream with some logical basis. And then if that's $400,000 a year, we got a plan on where we're spending $400,000 a year, and we get past that, then we go, we can either change our plan or we can wait till next year, but we don't have a capital improvement plan that is thought out or part of our budget, so we need one. And I put down that here. And if you go to the sewer one, it is basically the same thing. Are we gonna be in the sewer? If we are, there's some action steps. What do we expect? How do we expect to pay for it? How do we expect it to pay for itself? Are we having a capital recovery fee? All these things that need to be specified and decided upon to go through to develop any kind of a sewer project. And Wade is always talking about how it pays for itself, and I agree, we need to understand, and we have no such plan. So I think our planning committee needs to say, we're looking at these projects. What could we spend this year to move down this road? And our finance committee needs to put that in a capital budget so we have some absolute understanding of the money we have to spend and what we can use. And we haven't done any of that. And I think if we're gonna run this thing intelligently, and we need to create those pieces, and then we got a blueprint. We have none. We come up with ideas to do something, we go do it. So I know, for instance, at our last planning meeting with Brian and Joseph, we talked about a list of problems out there, primarily looping problems that needed fixed, and I think that's, I don't know if it's complete yet, but we need a budget to see what we're gonna tackle, so.
Capital improvements.
Huh?
Capital improvement.
Capital improvement plan, absolutely. So we need one for water, and then we need one, and these committees with Joseph need to sit down. You know, it's budget time. And Gwen asked a question, what do we lose in revenue? I don't think we understand at all what our financial future is for this coming year, because we ate the cost of the water increase, which I thought was a good thing, I voted for it, but where does that leave us on free cash flow? And do we want to dip into our savings, if you will, to start some new projects? These are questions that need answered, and that's my pitch there for that.
And we still have a sewer plant we have to tear to the ground, and we don't know how much that's gonna cost yet either.
Absolutely. Well, getting a specific project cost out is a whole different problem, but if you've got a budget that you can work on, it helps you pick out which project you're actually gonna look at. You know, we don't have $50 million, so we know we're not gonna build a water plant, a sewer plant, but if we gonna spend $2 million or $1 million to start this, what projects do you want? So we have work to do that has not been done in the past. Okay, I see Steve nodding his head. Would you agree with that, sir?
Yes, I would agree with that. Just as an aside, Joseph and I spent time yesterday having the conversation about budget and how we're going to present that to the authority here in the next few months. And we're excited about being able to do that.
Okay, and this is not in any way a personal thing, but I respect you two and do this, but I think this board needs members actively engaged in that process, so it didn't show up one day and you go, oh, okay. And that's why we have a finance committee that in my opinion, meet with you as you got a proposed path and say, this makes sense, or so that we have an input from this board.
We agree with that completely.
Okay. And our planning committee, now that we have Joseph on the job, we can meet with him and start wading through all these potential projects, water and sewer, and then budget accordingly. So that's my pitch for that.
Okay, got it. All right, Steve, can you talk yours?
Mine was extraordinarily easy to fulfill because we now have Joseph Johnson as our general manager. My responsibility was to go and hire an executive director or general manager. We put the request out. We had a number of applicants that Miles and I were part of vetting through, and we brought back Mr. Joseph Johnson for consideration, and he accepted the role, and we're actually very, very pleased that we were able to bring him on board. Sorry, Brian, we didn't mean to steal him from you, but
Take that, Brian.
I'm glad we did.
Thank you for training him up. Okay, all right. Last one, improving economic development, Ms. Delaney and Mr. Cannon?
Before you give your report, I just wanted to make one comment about what Dick said. Somewhere in that financial piece, we need to be looking for grants. We need to be looking for money. We need to be looking for other resources related to sewer and water that will help make the money that we have work further. So,
You're right, and I got a sheet on that, and you make a good point. Can you pull up the one about how we fund? Because I'm kind of blunt on what I said. Somewhere here. Computer.
Now, let me,
What I basically said, let me just tell you what I basically said was, I enumerated the ways to fund these things. You've got county money now, millions of dollars potentially for the infrastructure. Keep going. There we go. You've got the ARPA money from the county. You got pending federal infrastructure funds, which are starting to flow. There's the revenue bond market. There's GFA loans. There's our internally generated funds, CDBG grants. Those are some of the biggies. There might be another one or two, but you cannot go out and do this until you have a project. You can't go say, well, we're selling bonds. I go, why? Or we want a grant, and you go, why? So if we don't specify a project and the details and some cost estimates, a business proposal, then you know how to fund it. And it might be one or more of these things, but you can't just walk around asking for money without a well-done plan. So I say it's totally premature to tell you how you're gonna fund this thing until you know what it is you're funding. And then there's money out there. Probably not as much as people think, but there's money out there, and we just have to match the revenue from the project with the funding source and go sell it.
Yeah, Joseph also has another option, I'm sure he'll bring to us at a later date, that we have talked about, you know, if it could be found to be worked out, but he's aware of all that.
You're right, there's a lot of choices, but since we're sitting here talking and waving our hands in the air, we don't have any choices.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Nope, I absolutely agree. All right, where are, okay. Ms. Fanny and Wade?
We're kind of flat-footed because of the bill situation.
Okay, and that's good enough. That's the same kind of issue that turns out with Ms. Gwynn. I'm willing to just let that go.
Well,
Now,
She does have some things.
Not quite.
okay,
Or, of course, the things that you might see on here, as you look in your packet, I won't go to, I won't go to insult you and tell you about reading through this, but there are a couple of things. Look at this, you'll see draft, but of course, as Wade was just saying with our little wrinkle with Bill, or things that are not quite as what we had hoped to accomplish. However, I would like to call your attention, though, to action steps. Number one, education. We had, we had talked about a session with Georgia Power, and we would like to, because I didn't have a chance to communicate with Wade about this, but I would like to propose that we go along with, that we would take this step with Georgia Power. And with that in mind, well, I have a date that Georgia Power could accommodate us, and that was February 23rd in the afternoon. And I would also like to propose with that is that since Bill was instrumental in securing these people, that he would be invited to attend this session also. I think the other items here are self-explanatory. Wait.
Yeah, man, it looks like, well, we're gonna do I'm gonna attend the meeting, the community development meeting coming up. City of Griffin Water and Wastewater Planning and Development, Downtown Development Authority, and others, I believe that is in the works. Meeting with them. Like I said, Bill was heading all this stuff up. I got put on this committee in December.
I'm available February 23rd. Might be a little hungover, but I'll be available.
It's in the afternoon.
Turn 80 on the 22nd, so.
Okay, okay.
What's that, 25th?
Yeah, we're gonna, just give it a few more minutes, and then we're gonna decide if we're gonna be able to do the February 23rd meeting. That gets into me also on my training for all the board members and everything. All right? Ms. Fanny, anything else? Wade, anything else?
We've already pretty much covered the system improvements projects for capital. Bill kind of covered Dick kind of covered that in his presentation. The sanitary sewer cost recovery methods, targeted areas. I'm still, we need to get our fee structure in order, and I believe that'll come up with a meeting with Joseph in our next planning meeting, or their next planning meeting. I plan on attending those. Man, that's about covers it right now. Like I said, we had more. Bill was heading all that up, and Bill, it kind of threw a wrench in everything, so we'll do better next time.
It was unforeseen. Okay.
And thank
A couple of things. The concept that I'm trying to do is
Thank you.
the people who have the projects down here, you've got responsibility to work those. Come up with your plans, write them up, get them ready to go, get them to us. We're delegating this down to you all to do this. So don't look at somebody else and say, I'm writing an action step for somebody else. The action steps are for us. You fix it, you get it done. You develop, you write the whole thing out, then you start staffing it with us electronically, and then we'll bring it forward in the board. So you own it at this point. If you need help, find another member and get the help you need to be able to do this. All right, so this is still stuck on your hand to get more of it done. All right, let's talk about the 23rd, February 23rd Economic Development class. I think this is right up in our alley of what we're trying to get done, to do that with. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of state at that time, but I think we should go ahead and do it.
But you've had this training as a county commissioner, economic, and you sat on the development authority, so
Yes.
I think excusing you is just more than
Yes, and that's,
okay.
my bottom line is, I'm okay with it, and I can do some other catch-up to be able to do it. So, I'm for doing it on the 23rd. Anybody else having a problem on February 23rd?
I won't be here, but I've done it twice.
Yeah.
Yes.
County commissioners get this, I've had it too, but it's good, it's great understanding of the macro picture.
And it is,
What's the time?
12:30 to 12:30, begin at 12:30.
If
it's a good overall picture of what economic development is, but I think what is better, and I may bring this back when I talk about structure, is that starting last year, 2 years ago, they started doing the 40-hour economic development training online. And so, I actually did a development authority training, and I mean, it was online, but it was so good because it really breaks it down to what economic development is supposed to be. And it's not just stores or not just factories, it's a multitude of things. So, while the tour may be good, the actual training that the Development Authority gets through, I guess, the University of Georgia, whatever, I think it will make a huge difference, for everybody in just really understanding our role in economic development.
Mr. Chairman, Kim at the Development Authority can assist with getting that set up for folks.
I mean, even if we have to do it a little bit at a time, you know, a couple hours at a time, you can work through it, I think that way, but for me, when I first sat on the Development Authority, it was huge, because first of all, I didn't know what they did, but then when I realized how vast their tendrils could be if you were in a forward-moving place, it's really huge, and also, we're very much connected to them in terms of what it is that we're trying to do and what they're trying to do, so
Well,
I think it's a great idea.
all right, so everybody, we all agree to February 23 to do the class?
You'll be here.
Well, we were gonna ask if Charlie would facilitate where it was gonna be, whether it's gonna be here or the senior center.
Is this,
We'll work that.
all right, save the date, get the date ready to go, we'll figure out the mechanics behind it. All right, thank you all for taking care of that. Next, I have a couple of comments. I want to make sure everybody understands where we are with the general manager. We're working on kind of what I think is the Maslow business. 10 days ago, I went to his office to see his office and see how that was going around. His office was a four-sided walls. There was no desk. There was no computer. There was no chairs.
Did we not have any of this before?
We've never had this position before. So this is a brand-new position for us, so we're getting all that. So in Maslow's hierarchy, remember, we're trying to get to the top little part of self-fulfilling and all that stuff. But right now, with him, we're down at getting him, okay, where's his desk, where's his office, how does he set up, what does he get his cards look like, all of that stuff. We're working that.
I
So,
offered a milk crate.
sorry?
I offered a milk crate, so, you know, that excuse is over now.
So my answer to it is, remember where he is he's trying to get integrated into the county, doing all that stuff he has to do. We have great plans for him to do stuff, but we're not quite there yet for him to be able to do it. He comes with a wealth of knowledge of our city and county and what we're trying to do, but he needs a little bit of grace time to be able to do that. Please sit down and talk with him and do all of the stuff to share information with him on your views on what we're trying to do. But he's not ready. We can't turn to him, say, next week and say, all right, tell me about the priorities you're suggesting, you're recommending to the board for what we're going to do with sewer.
He needs time to inventory the situation.
Correct. He's doing his initial tour, so please give him the time to do that. He's very, very, very good, but he's got to have that time to be able to, okay, where do I get my paper from? How do I Xerox stuff off? How does my email work? Okay, so I wanted to make sure everybody understands and protect him a little bit from that side of the house. All right, we've gone through the entire thing. All right, so everybody understands. Everybody's got homework to do on the focus leader part. You own it until you get it to the group and get it approved. All right, let's start with Secretary, Treasurer, County Manager's comments.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, we did order a lot of equipment and material for Joseph before he got here. And then Joseph shows up and even went to Office Depot and chose a desk, because his desk had not arrived yet, chose a desk that was in stock. And he did this 3 weeks ago. and it still has yet to show up. So it's not for a lack of trying to get Joseph up and running. We do have him in an office. He is behind a desk, and he does have a computer, and he is working, so.
So what's the problem then?
That's a great question. No problem.
Now, if you haven't been,
Says if you have shelter
But
first,
where
you
is
be
it?
covered.
It's not his, though, he's borrowed one.
So he can eat and stay warm, so I don't understand what y'all talking about.
all right.
Joseph, I got a laptop I'll let you borrow.
Okay, if you haven't been to his office or you don't know where Charlie moved to, if you go upstairs and you're coming down the hall this way, it's on the far side of the wall. Charlie still has a glass partition you can look through and wave at her, and across that, an internal hallway from her is where Joseph's office is. So if you haven't been there, go get there. We're gonna have coffee and things like that there, where we'll be able to stop and take a break and do stuff like that. All right? Anything else for you?
No, sir.
Now,
Thank you
the
very much.
reason I brought up the whole business is to say, hey, he's drinking from the fire hose. Give him some time to be able to get everything done. All right. We'll start with Wade over there. We'll come around back over here, this side. County authority member comments?
Other than just being excited to have Joseph on board.
Oop.
I think it's gonna go a long ways to help us smoothen things out and move things forward.
Yep. And it's gonna take a while. This is a new position.
You gotta
right.
flesh it
New
out.
Quit
concept.
cutting him slack, okay?
Okay, everybody got it. All right.
Enough's enough.
We gotta flesh it out, and we gotta try not to get in his way.
Yes. All right, and congratulations on becoming the new vice.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Fanny?
Yes, sir. I thought it was a good session today, and I think we're heading in the right direction. I hope that we do not, or that we are gonna be heading in the right direction when we talk about where we're gonna grow to, where we're going, and we not forget those items that we mentioned, let's say last year, about moving sewer to the north, to Pine Tree, of course, to the east, and wherever else we need to go. I think we need to look at those. And as Dick mentioned in his report about funding, it seems like there's gonna be funding out there. So let's make use of funding.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly right. If you remember my comment in mine about work will be increasing, I'm telling you, my belief is this year, work is gonna be increasing for members on the authority. We're going to have a meeting soon on deciding. I was planning on having it, if you wanted to know, this meeting, and Bill was gonna present. Without Bill, we gotta start and come back and come up and say, this is our position on sewer, water lines, and stuff like that. All right? Dick?
I agree with Wade. Glad to have Joseph, and
Okay.
I'll give him slack for about 6 hours, then we're going to work.
By the close of business, it's over with. Okay, got it. All right. Jeff?
I agree. I'm glad to have Joseph on board, and I look forward to working with him and making some improvements and moving forward with some of the things that we've talked about in my short time here.
Okay.
Welcome.
Jim?
Just echo, I'm glad Joseph's with us, and welcome Wanda. Look
Yeah.
forward to
Yes.
your expertise and your input.
Ms. Quinn?
I've heard several people say this, and I too am a little disappointed, I'm a lot disappointed that Bill's not here. However, I served on the, I-75 corridor committee meeting, and one of our guys who was a chairperson or something else didn't get reappointed, and he became a community liaison, non-voting member. I hate to see that wealth of
Stephanie.
knowledge that he had
Yeah.
not be at this table. And I would like for us to at least consider, creating a position or adding a liaison position, because we're gonna have a big hole. I mean, as a liaison, you don't get to vote, but you certainly get to share. So I would just wish that this board would consider that, because there's an awfully big hole that's being left with his not being there.
May I respond to that for a second? I agree. I haven't talked to Ms. Delaney yet, but my first thought was when we have a planning committee meeting, to try to invite him and put him, you don't have to be a member of this board to be on our committees, as far as I know, that he should be invited to actively participate. I agree with you.
Cool. And he's got the interest. I've talked to him personally about the follow-on and stuff like that. He says, I've got the interest to be able to do that. I'm involved in that. Remember, he's also on our transportation committee for the city and county. Okay?
I also wanted to say, that when we had our Board of Commissioners retreat, we talked a lot about the ARPA money, and I just want to say, as a commissioner, that before anything comes from the water authority, in terms of asking for money, the water authority really needs to have a plan for how they're going to do it. And I think that as a commissioner, I would be looking at this authority and saying, if we grant you this money, you need to match it to do whatever it is you're gonna do. So, I know I'm gonna put the water authority hat back on and say, yeah, if you're gonna give us some money, but we just need to know that that money is getting appropriated, so we can get our game based on, to figure out what it is that we want to do to associate those numbers before the money is gone. That's all I got. That was so cheery, wasn't it?
Okay, Ms. Wanda?
Wanda, you got something?
Okay, all right. Ms. Cheryl?
Yes, first of all, I'm looking forward to working with Robert and with Joseph. Joseph already have a list of questions for finance. I've been sitting here writing them as we got to them. And I found an answer to your question. And you can have at least 3 members on a committee, one of which shall serve as chair. So if Wade wants to be on planning, he can. You can have at least 3 members.
Okay.
Good.
Now, that leads us into the planning. Is that going to be chaired by Ms. Fanny, or is, Dick, are you going to chair that?
I don't mind it. Do you have a druther whether you want to?
You can chair. I don't mind being second seat.
Okay.
I'll just have.
I'll chair it and run around and do stuff and
Okay?
be backed
That
up.
should take care of that holdover we had. That means all the stuff on this meeting is taken care of. Okay, anything else, ma'am? All right, we have a 10:30 new member orientation. All of you that want to stay can stay. Some of you have requirements during that meeting. If you have the agenda, you can look through it and know that you're supposed to stay and talk with Wanda as a new member to do that. All right, anything else? Attorney, you have anything? Charlie? Anybody else in the room? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. Less than 2 hours. Next meeting is the February 16th at 8:30, right here. Yes, next meeting's at 10:30, so we have enough time to go to the bathroom.
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, may I leave a card for Ms. Howell?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
I'm kind of opinionated too.
And thank you for doing that.
I tell people when you speak,
Wanda, if you,
listen.
Ms. Wanda?
That's from Bill. He sent that
Difficulty I have
to me yesterday.
you not have an email, it's hard to keep.
Oh,
If
okay.
you move up here, it'd be easier for us to
Really
talk.
appropriate for y'all.
Thank you. Good morning. Welcome. This is the Water and Sewage Facilities Authority new member orientation work session. It is January 19th, 2022, about 10:30. I would like to ask Dick Morrow to lead us in the pledge to the flag and also to invocation.
Oh, okay. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for our many, many blessings, the opportunities and freedoms that we enjoy, and the ability to serve on this board. Now, you ask that we ask you that you help us guide our new member. We're appreciative of Wanda being with us, and that we get her off to a good start and help her become a productive member of our team. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Morrow. Appreciate that. This is the new member orientation for the Water Authority. Let me kind of start off by saying welcome. We are extremely excited about you being here. Your proven community leadership is important to us. Your time on the Development Authority, which you heard us talk about a number of times today during the meeting, and where we're trying to go and how we're going to interface is going to be important to us along the way. So please don't hesitate to jump in there and say, hey, here's what's going on about that. Jeff is the person who was right ahead of you. He was the guinea pig on us doing this orientation. I would suggest that you use Jeff as, hey, you're right ahead of me. What did you learn in the next 90 days or something, and he can walk you through that.
Okay.
He's like you, he's working full-time, so his time is limited, but he'll be able to work that out with you, he says. I'm going to talk about the Water Authority relationship with the city and with the county.
In charge of
We have a contract with the city of Griffin who produces our water, and we buy it for them. We have a contract that's for a long period of time that we just finished negotiating. We do not produce any water. We are a go-between for the production and for the unincorporated portion. A whole bunch of what the city does, we're in their system, and for a long time we were absolutely integrated into it. We're a little less full-time integrated into it now. We are their customers. A lot of times we think that we are a partner, but in fact there's a difference between partnership and a customer relationship. To be able to do that, they see us as a customer. So you'll hear us talk about what we're trying to do with the city and those kinds of things. We have just agreed that we will have 2 meetings a year to try to talk about their future and what they're trying to do with that. We are just getting out. We had one little sewer plant, and we're getting out of the sewer plant business now. We were almost out of it, and now we're getting ready to talk about new sewer and where we want to go and what we want to do with sewer. That's a big, big question for us. We are fairly financially stable. Getting into the getting into the sewer business starts to be a totally new thing for us. Big, expensive. Is there some other way we can do this and still serve our customers to do that? You saw today where we are now going to have a meeting a month. We used to be 1 meeting a quarter. We don't believe we can move forward doing the things we want to do with once a quarter meeting, and we as a group have decided we're going to meet once a month. there are some subcommittees that will be meeting a little more frequently than that. I'm just going through my sheets, so, yeah, okay. You've got a 6-year term. You will end in December 31st of 2027, and we understand if your life changes and stuff like that, but that's what we're planning on. We think that it takes a number of years to understand the intricacies of what we're doing. Committee expectations. Expect you to listen, to speak up, state your opinion, and then support. I am usually concerned about groupthink. People just, okay, I'm more interested in just being part of the committee, so I'll just nod my head. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in diversity of thought. I'm interested in people raising their hand and saying, hold it, have you thought about it from this perspective or from my vantage point? That is important to me. I am always open to have that kind of discussion, but once we make a decision, I expect us to be go and take that decision and support it out in the community and say this is what's going on. You have an extremely large megaphone of being who you are and how long you've been around here. I'm hoping that you will use that megaphone, especially with the business people as we go along and you learn the business of what we're doing, to be able to educate business leaders on sewer and how we're doing it and water and what we do about that. Reminder, as opposed to the Development Authority, this is all taped, this is all streamed, so TV land is out there watching what you and I are doing all the time. I just say that so that when you start to make a remark and you look around the room, remember it's everybody who wants to be on it can listen to that remark. We have in a couple of months ago, we had a retreat on where we're trying to go in 2022 for the calendar year. You heard us brief on that today. One of the big issues we had at that time was hiring a general manager. We have hired the general manager, and we're trying to get his job to be understood by people, internally as well as externally. But we're trying to get the objectives for 2022 fleshed out. You saw some of those, and trying to work those so that we all move forward together. And we will probably have another retreat at the January of next year to talk about what we're trying to get done. You saw a meeting today. It kind of goes the same way that we have always gone. We walk through. It is on the, what's it called, Charlie? The Novus agenda, excuse me. It's on here. You can push the button. You'll get it, and Charlie will send it to you, and you can go through and pull all of it up, just like the public can. I don't believe last time I sat through the Development Authority, they had something like that, but ours is all absolutely public, 100% transparent. She'll send you a link, and you can do that. If you want paper, she'll be glad to provide you paper, but most of us are trying to save paper and trying to do it on the link to be able to do that with. The group sits kind of wherever we want to sit, partly because of COVID, partly because we're 9 people to be able to do that. Today was an example of people sitting around where they want to do. In just a second.
Actually, I was told where to sit, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, excuse me, until Charlie tells you where to sit, and then you say, yes, ma'am, and you go sit where Charlie tells you to sit. Here is homework assignment. I'll kind of go through this with you so that you have an understanding. I want it back by 15 February. That's before our meeting. I want you to become familiar with the water purchase contract. It's in the book. I'm looking for Charlie to verify. It's in the book. I want you to read it and then answer the 5 questions that are there. When does this contract start? Who are the parties to the contract? What percentage of the water do we buy from the seller? How many joint meetings are required? How long to complete the decision on joint authority? So read through the, you should be good at this. Some people are not as used to reading contracts and stuff. More of a skim, become familiar with it and how long it is. Next, take the 2022 retreat direction, specifically the 5 things we discussed today. Read through them, see what's on each one of those. Charlie, does she have the whole business on the 22 retreat? Okay, it's in the book. Become familiar with what we, in that date, decided we wanted to go on. Understand it. There's a couple of questions in there for you to answer.
And it's not in the book, it's actually in the agenda today.
Okay.
If you need a copy, if you didn't make a copy, I can give it to you.
Yeah, send her a copy of both what we did in the retreat, so she gets that whole thing, and then she can pull up today. Then in there is the legislative and the amendments to how we got started, what we're about, what we can and can't do. There is a great deal of authority we have that we can option if we decide to do it. For the most part, we have not done those things yet. Now we're starting to get into, yes, we're going to take that opportunity to be able to do something. So read through them and see it. Read might be the wrong word, maybe skim, scan, just, okay, I understand that, on how we work with that. We have our bylaws that we're pretty specific with. You saw us talking about them with Cheryl today. We change those as we deem appropriate, but it takes all of us to work through them to get them. But they are kind of working stuff to do. And then I want you to take a tour with the general manager to go out. I'm looking at getting you to go out to the water plant, the city's water plant, and then for in a vehicle with Joseph, here's our water towers, here's what they look like, here's the things that we own, here's where off the plant where our workers are, here's what that is. A couple of hours, 3-4 hours to spend doing that, maybe broken down at a couple of times. One may just be setting you up, Joseph setting you up to go out to the water plant and see what's going on out there with them. We all went out there and saw that, and very interesting. Took us a couple of 3 hours. And then secondly, a second part of it that is, all right, what do we do in Spalding County? Where are the pieces in it? I see that Joseph taking you around and doing all that, and having an opportunity to do that. So all of that by 15 February to be able to do that. All right, let's kind of, Jeff, you have some comments, any comments? I'll come back to you again later if you're wanted to talk later.
Yeah, I don't really have anything at this
Okay.
point, other than getting, it was, for me, a challenge to get my head wrapped around the whole relationship with the city and the water authority, how all of that works. And so a lot of that's in the purchase agreement, and getting to, seeing the facilities helps with that as well, to understand.
Our contract used to be a 3-party contract. It used to be county, city, and the water authority. We've changed that, and with that change, the change with the general manager, we're in kind of, hold it, this is a whole huge structural change that we're trying to walk our way through. All right. Next, our Secretary Treasurer, Steve Ledbetter, and Charlie. Did you want to knock yourself out there for a little bit?
Yeah, I would just offer an opportunity for you to come by and sit down and spend an hour with us and just get to know us.
Okay.
And
multiple hats, and you have to,
I bet.
sometimes I have to turn around and say, are you talking to me as the county manager? Are you talking to me as the secretary treasurer for the water authority? So he does them beautifully. All right, Charlie, you got her the book?
She has a book. Anything you need at all, you just let me know. I'll give you copies of everything we have, via email or, paper copies. Any questions you have, we do not have business cards right now, but I did write down our, phone number and email addresses, okay?
Okay. Stephanie has given you her card. If you'll just link up with her to talk about the legal part of it, what we can and can't do and all of that stuff, we'll set that up. You can work through Steve to get to Jenna, to sit down and go through the books and understand.
Okay.
We are pretty money rich, in my opinion. We've got capital. A lot of places don't have capital. The city, as an example, doesn't have the kind of capital we have to be able to do stuff. So you'll need to understand, and then that's what you heard Dick talk about, trying to move forward and, okay, which part of this do we want to spend and what order do we want to do it in? So yes, so if you'll work that out so that Jenna can get with you. Joseph, do you have anything you want to talk for a few minutes with her about the big picture? Or?
Being recently hired a couple weeks ago, I'm looking forward to working on at the direction of the board, and my office is always going to be open. Just come talk to me whenever you need to. I'll be your point of contact other than Charlie. But I'm just looking forward to the opportunity to work with all y'all.
Joseph has worked on the city side, and Joseph has worked for Mr. Upson on Paragon, who is our principal technical. He knows our system better than anybody else in the world, in my opinion. So there isn't any part of it that he hasn't stuck his fingers into to be able to do something with, so we're very fortunate with that. But he is brand spanking new to us and coming out of, and he's a PE, a professional engineer, that we're excited about having on our staff. All right, Mr. Upson, our technical engineer to me, he is our everything.
Well, I don't know about that. That's a hard act to follow. We support the authority with the technical side, whether it's planning, design, permitting. We're kind of the arm that is not on staff. We work with Joseph, will help in whatever the decisions of the authority are and what direction they want to go in, we help to facilitate getting to the end product. So, obviously, we're in the water and sewer business. There's a lot of permitting, a lot of regulatory. So we have to stay compliant, we have to stay ahead of that curve. So we act as an extension of the authority just to help make sure that we stay out of trouble and we plan and we design and we build things properly for future assets. So anything you would like more detail on or how we're working, please let me know, and we can go look at things as well, or you can come to my office and we can pull things up on our screens and look at maps and models. So I just, the same that Steve said, if you need anything, if you want to sit down, please let me know and I'll be glad to help educate you.
Now, so you understand that I believe that Mr. Upson's company also works with the city. So we have to watch how we use him and sometimes because he's on both sides of the house with us. We've never had a problem with it, but just so you know, he's not dedicated to us. He works both sides, which is absolutely great for us because he can talk about what's going on in the future for them to be able to do that. All right, Ms. Quinn, let me catch you off guard and see if there's some.
No, I just came to be a support to Wanda. So if anybody said anything mean to her, I can get her.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
She is you know, a county commissioner. She is appointed to the Water Authority to represent the county, to do that with. And I think, I don't know if she's the longest-serving person on this committee, or if Ms. Fanny is, but it's real close between the two of them. So she has really all of our history, how we got to where we are and what we're doing. And we walk in and grab hold of her history brain and say, how did we get to where we are? And that's why you'll notice that she asks questions more than the rest of us, if you want to know the truth, to say, hold it, we agreed, you know, 7 years, 10 years ago to do this, and now we're changing. How did we get to where we are? So we appreciate her doing that. All right, new vice chairman, Wade Cannon.
Thanks. You pretty much covered everything already. It's more than I got when I started on the board.
Yes.
Charlie handed me a book, said, hey, there you go. But,
Wade is Wade and Jeff really and truly are in the business. They're in the water business. They understand it from hooking pipe up to all of that kind of stuff and transferring. So when we talk about who are the experts on the board that understand, when Brian starts talking about this, that, we look to those sometime to say, what'd he say? And they translate that down, down to where we understand what they're talking about. So both of them are absolute experts on that side in the day-to-day world too.
Jeff has the experience of working in an authority. I have the experience of working as a contractor for I work for a system integrator. And what we do is we take the various components, equipment, processes of the entire system, and we automate them. So I work exclusively with water and wastewater municipalities and authorities in every aspect of the process, whereas Jeff has actually worked within a water authority. That's where our experience comes from. And I think Jeff now works for an engineering company that works with water and wastewater.
We're pretty fortunate in our board. As we've talked about, we have a serving county commissioner, and we have two that were, Miss Fanny and Dick were county commissioners earlier. Dick was also a city commissioner. So we have, what we're trying to get is a balance between people like Wade and Jeff and people like Fanny and Dick that go from different sides of it to be able to do that.
And business people. Because
And
we're running a business. At the end of the day, that's really what this is. We're running a business.
Yes, the business side is what's driving us right now. Those two are business people. Of course, you're a high-level business people. Cheryl comes from the business world to be able to do that. So we try to keep kind of let it all look, different people coming in, so we have diversity of thought. And we talk about that big time on, okay, from my perspective, this is what the community wants to hear. Remember, we're talking about the unincorporated Spalding when we talk about the water authority, so that eliminates the city, Griffin, Sunnyside, and Orchard Hills. But that's how we look. So sometimes when we get talking about water authority with new people, they start thinking about the city to do that. Remember, the city, how the system is set up is the city bills all of our customers. We pay for them to bill that. So they bill it, they read the meters, they bill it, and send out the notices to people to do that. All right. You have questions at this point that you would like to have disassembled august group answer, or anything else?
I guess I just, maybe Charlie can make sure I get the steps all covered that we talked about, because I just want to make sure I do that by February 15th, so maybe I can touch base with her and kind of get a schedule going.
Yeah, most of the stuff, other than the stuff, the homework assignment is mainly just sit and read and do that
Right,
kind of stuff.
right.
But yes, we can use Charlie and Steve to be able to get a hold of Stephanie, to be able to, you have her card, to get a hold of Jenna, to be able to talk you through that. And those are, unfortunately, one-on-one sessions. Jenna holding up the sheets and saying this is how our budget works and stuff like that, to do that with. So reach out. Charlie is absolutely great, makes magic happen, so you just gotta touch base with her. All right, anybody else have anything for new person orientation? Okay, motion to adjourn? All right? First, second, okay, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. We're adjourned, thank you. Yes, we're excited about you truly being here.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I'm talking truly about your megaphone to the business world. In our county, there isn't anybody who doesn't know, that's in the business world, that doesn't know who you are. There's a whole lot of people who doesn't know who you are.
I had to go do something else.
Some of the people
Sorry?
on this committee
I had to go do something
will
else.
plan on your megaphone, so reach out.